Even one down the sideline, and he's got Cass over the top. Big side. Down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, big ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Bruin Bible. Will Decker, your host. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing the podcast. We are brought to you guys today by our advertisers. Our advertisers are Bell to Bell Fitness, Shea Tor, a realtor out in Arizona, former Bruin alum, and my main man Howard Chang, a realtor right here in Los Angeles. Let's go through them, guys. Bell to Bell Fitness is a boxing gym on the West Coast used by their FIT acronym, Fight Inspired Training. My main man, Tony Gonzalez, was the boxing coach for UCLA for over 10 years. He has built this gym on the West Side to learn how to boxing, stay in shape, and give you all the essentials you need to become somebody that is obsessed with boxing and fitness. Make sure to check it out. Go into Bell to Bell Fitness and say you heard about it from the Bruin Bible, and you're going to get a free session with Tony Gonzalez. So make sure to check that out. Shea Tor, my main man. Shea Tor is a licensed real estate agent in Arizona and a lifelong Bruin. He's a current Wooden Athletic Fund donor and football season ticket holder. When not selling houses or going to UCLA games, he loves to travel the country, checking out different arenas, ballparks, and stadiums. If you're looking to make the move to Arizona or know someone who is, please reach out to our loyal friend, Mr. Shea Tor. His phone number is 602-487-3975. Once again, his number is 602-487-3975. Make sure to check that out. And then the local realtor we got out here, Howard Chang. Howard Chang is a local realtor with the Serene team at eXp Realty. Their team has an office right here in Culver City, though they help clients buy and sell homes all over the LA County and the surrounding areas. Howard and his team do a ton of business and are super in tune with the market, knowing winning strategies to give their clients a competitive advantage, have amazing vendor referrals, are a one-stop shop for anything real estate, and just provide a ton of value for their clients. Howard and his partner, Kyle Draper, are UCLA alums and a huge fans of the UCLA football and basketball programs. You often see them at games, tailgating and networking, and staying involved with the UCLA alumni community. They would love to help any fellow alumni with accomplishing their real estate goals. So if you guys have any real estate needs in the LA area, look no further. Howard is your guy. All right, man, what is up? Friday afternoon, 1090 ESPN Radio, brought to you guys by Bet Online and Athletic Greens. It's the LA Football Show, and we are the UCLA segment. We are known as the Bruin Bible. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing on YouTube and the podcast itself. But we are here on the great ESPN networks today talking about UCLA football. Madman, how are we doing on this Friday, leading into another amazing weekend in Southern California? You really can't draw it up any better than summertime in SoCal.
No doubt, Thriller. Obviously, it's a great weekend, great opportunity to talk Bruin ball. As always, what's not to love, Thriller? You know, I wanted to take 30 seconds before we jumped in and just talk a little bit about, you know, the football event earlier this week. That was such a lovely event, alumni event. We had Coach Foster come and speak. And, you know, what was interesting about that was came and gave just such a glorious state of the program. And, you know, for some of you who follow us, listen to us, follow us on social, what a great conversation it was. I interpreted a lot of that conversation as sort of a public conversation across 70 people. You know, Deshaun interpreted that conversation as more of a private conversation inside of 70 people. And so we had the opportunity to publish a really positive piece about Deshaun and the state of the program. But once we kind of realized that was my interpretation and his interpretation was a little different, you know, we took the piece down, and I got an opportunity to kind of apologize to Deshaun as well. And, you know, he's cool and I'm cool and we're all cool. And it's all in the name of goodness for Bruin Nation and moving forward and giving the best possible coverage for UCLA. So in the spirit of transparency, Will, and trust with our audience, I know there was a little bit of chatter on Twitter earlier this week about that event. So wanted to just kind of set the record straight a little bit there, and no biggie. And we move forward in a very happy way, and excited about continuing to provide the best coverage for UCLA, you and me together. So just wanted to start with that.
Love it, man. And, it's a lot of stuff going on right now. A lot of stuff going on in the program. And I think we got to start off with this story. The little brother up in Northern California in a place called Berkeley, the Calimony. I mean, this is a story that I honestly did not think they were going to be able to finagle their way into UCLA, paying them $10 million. That was the number that came out, $10 million a year coming from UCLA to Cal when it comes for the next 3 years. That was scheduled in a court ruling this week. And you just go back to the beginning on what this happened. And it just such an unlikely set of circumstances that occurred. Going into the 2022 offseason, the likelihood of UCLA bolting for the Big Ten was unheard of. But the world of college football shifted with that move from USC and UCLA heading to the Big Ten, Texas and Oklahoma heading to the SEC. They were expected to get like a $40 to $50 million TV deal from Pac-12 with George Kliefkoff kind of leading the way for Pac-12 Network. Ultimately they had a little doubt there at the end of it, and they decided to do what was best for UCLA and USC and bolt to the Big Ten. Cal got upset with the situation as they were both UC schools. They were kind of hand in hand and leading UC schools, as we got a lot of other UC schools such as like UC Santa Barbara, Merced, a lot of different universities all around this great state of California. It's been so bad with the turmoil between the two schools as of late due to this move of UCLA moving out that it's gotten ugly. It's an ugly divorce. There's no two ways to say what is going on between Cal and UCLA. Talk to me about your interpretation of UCLA having to fork over about $10 million a year to little brother up in Northern California, my guy.
Well, Will, what's so interesting is that Tuesday was the UC Regents meeting where this whole issue kind of was hoping to be concluded. And what's interesting is obviously that's the leadership body, the governing body of the UC system. But there's a lot of gray area about what their jurisdiction is, particularly in matters of sports. And the majority of people argue that they don't really have any jurisdiction when it comes to sort of matters of sports. And what was interesting is, if you recall, Will, initially the amount was between $2 million and $10 million that UCLA had to pay Cal because of going to the Big Ten, and in so many words, kind of jeopardizing the financial health of Cal athletics. The Regents kind of had several reviews over the last year and a half. And the last proposal on the table was UCLA would have to pay $10 million a year for 6 years. So $60 million total over 6 years. The Regents on Tuesday, I think in an effort to try and make some peace and save face at the same time, said, well, let's split the difference there. Let's do $10 million a year for 3 years and call it $30 million. I believe the vote with the Regents was 15-1 in favor of it passing. But I think, Will, that there's a couple of interesting things. Number one, it's not really legally enforceable. It's not sort of UC constitutionally enforceable. So the ball is kind of in UCLA's court. Number two, it creates a very slippery slope of precedence if this moves forward, because you can then apply that thinking of helping another UC school in financial troubles across other matters of the university. You could apply it to the medical school. You could apply it to admissions. You can apply it to research. You can apply it to social justice. You can apply it to all of these different things. Do you really want to go down that road? And then third, I think it's going to be fascinating, Will, to see how UCLA handles this and says, hey, okay, we'll play nice because we're Bruins. We're good people. We got great values. And we'll just sort of play nice and do the $30 million over 3 years. Or are the Bruins going to kind of dig in and say, you know what? We've got such great momentum with Deshaun. We're raking in the recruits. We're getting the fan engagement back. We need every dollar here to really build this program back up to what it can be. And $30 million is too steep a price. And when you look at where Martin Jarmond is today, Will, where he was perhaps 18 months ago. If you recall, all the conversations, there was a little bit of a cloud 18 months ago over Martin of like, is he going to be here long term? Is he going somewhere else? What's his future looking like? I think it feels so much different with Martin being a Bruin for the long term here as athletic director. And then I think the other piece is with Chancellor Gene Block. He retires June 30th, which is just about 6 or 7 weeks away. Does he want to make one final decision, yay or nay? And in many ways, could that help UCLA? He just says, no, we're not doing it, and I'm out. And so he doesn't necessarily have to deal with the political backfall of that. Or does he say, you know what, this really isn't my decision anymore. I'm only chancellor for 6 more weeks. Let them wait for the new chancellor to come in and decide. So there's all these like really interesting layers of decision, Will. Personally, I don't think UCLA should give Cal a dime. Athletics is a very different beast. And I think that the market has spoken. The market, the Big Ten market, the big media market wanted UCLA. The bigger markets did not ultimately want Cal. Cal is now in the ACC. And there has to be some element here of survival of the fittest. At the end of the day, we are in a competitive atmosphere when it comes to athletics. So yet another sort of chapter in this Calimony saga, Will, if you will. But at least it's trending in the direction where it's fewer years, fewer dollars. And I think if the Bruins really want to dig their heels in and get out of this, I think they can. The question is just going to be how much they're willing to do that, given they got to interact with Cal on all of these other issues.
Yeah, you brought up some really good points with that. Like, just because the UC Regents ruled that, like, to be, it's not like the national government's law. Like, this is not something that like the United States is enforcing. You can take this to the Supreme Court if you feel that strongly about it. And by the way, that's delaying the payments if you kind of keep going and, fighting this battle in court-like environments for UCLA moving forward. So you got to keep maybe that $10 million for a couple more years while this whole thing plays itself out. And two, I mean, we love Martin Jarman, very pro Martin Jarman. There was a cloud 18 months ago. There's a cloud like 6 months ago in November, December, with everything that was going on, with the situation there. A lot of it not particularly his fault, as we've kind of delved into in past, Bruin Bibles and things of that nature. So it's going to be really interesting to see how UCLA reacts to this. They're kind of playing it closer to the vest right now on what their strategy will be to either pay the $10 million, just kind of get it over with as kind of an acrimonious divorce, or continue to fight this thing at a legal level that's higher than the UC Regent. So a lot of good stuff there. Madman, lot of great recruiting news out this week from UCLA. And some of the interesting ones that we've gotten, man. Well, last week we got former 4-star quarterback Demarcus Davis joining UCLA. And the cool thing with that is he's going to be on campus immediately. He was an early enrollee with Kalen DeBoer up in Washington. DeBoer, unfortunately, left out to Alabama, so it just kind of did not work as much there. And then you have it with UCLA. They got a crystal ball. It's not set in stone just yet, but they could easily land Madden Iamaleava, as he's known out there in the world. Very talented quarterback. His older brother, Nico, was one of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2022. This is going to be a crowded quarterback room. I don't think there's any other way to say this, Madman. Like, when you really think about what they have, because this year it's Ethan Garber's team. I think we can all agree, to the people that's watched spring practice, to even hearing some of Coach Foster's comments throughout spring practice on that, to what we're seeing. But like, next year is going to be wide open when it comes to quarterback room. We liked Luke Duncan. He was a former 4-star coming down from Monte Vista area up in Northern California.
Yes.
Justin Martin, former 4-star quarterback right there. You add hypothetically 2 more with Demarcus Davis, Iamaleava coming through as well. And then you got, the Hasselbeck quarterback, Henry Hasselbeck, with lineage to Tim and Matt Hasselbeck, NFL ballers in their own right. I don't think he's going to be competing for a backup spot given the talent he has there. This quarterback room is going to be absolutely loaded, and only one guy is going to get the job. I was talking to Wayne Cook in our last episode. It's very interesting because, with offensive linemen, they'll find like a different position for you to play. If you're a receiver,
it's only one though with the quarterback. Yep.
Only one under center. And it's going to be a dog eat dog competition out there, the quarterback position. What do you make about how deep UCLA's QB room is and how Deshaun is surging on the recruiting trail with his coaching staff?
Well, first of all, I mean, the momentum with the recruiting trail is on fire. I mean, we're talking about the quarterbacks. We haven't talked about Cox, the running back, and just everything in terms of the momentum here. Things on the defensive side, like we talked about, and just you see this energy and you see a vitality on the recruiting trail that you just haven't seen since the early Mora years. And again, those early Mora years, that team across town was on sanctions. So you haven't really seen this vitality and energy with everybody kind of full strength in the city since the mid to late 90s with Terry Donahue. It's just so exciting and infectious. And I think the parallels with Deshaun and Donahue are so beautiful, right? I mean, Donahue was hired without any coordinator experience either. He was really young, and there was a lot of questions about whether he could grow into the job. I think similar questions a little bit with Deshaun, and I think we're all anticipating equal success and longevity for Deshaun, and he's just off to such a riveting start. Will, it's such a great question about the quarterback. When you talk about Davis and Hasselbeck and Madden, and then our guy Luke Duncan, and then, oh, by the way, Justin Martin, who in many ways kind of feels like yesterday's news, sadly, after the 13 touchdowns in high school that we sort of bragged about, but it just shows how crowded this room is. Will, I had to go back and think about it, of saying, is next year, obviously we're all in on Garbers this year, as we should be, but is next year going to be the most compelling quarterback competition at UCLA in 30 years? I mean, it's ironic you bring up our good friend Wayne. I think the last great quarterback battle really was Wayne and Tommy Maddox in the early 90s, of saying who's going to really sort of win that job and kind of take it over. Because, Will, let's go back. I mean, we've had DTR for a number of years, Garbers this year, DTR for a number of years. It was Rosen's job very clearly. Before that, we had Spate for just kind of that half a season. Before that, it was very clearly Hundley. And then before that, it was the cupboard was a little bare with Kevin Kraft and Ben Olsen. And then you had to go even further back with Drew Olsen. And then you had, the great run with Cade. So, I mean, we're talking about unprecedented waters here over the last 30 years. It's going to be so compelling. It's going to be so dynamite in terms of who's going to do what. And I think they're all going to push each other in a very compelling way. I really like what I see out of Luke Duncan. And I also like what I see a lot out of Madden. I think they have the skills that you just can't teach. That raw athleticism, the great mechanics, the release, the speed, the frame, the wingspan, so many things that you sort of need the ingredients before you can go and coach them up. But again, I think with everyone, they're going to, Hasselbeck being the son of a great NFL quarterback, he's going to have that Peyton Manning-like mind to go and adjust. Justin Martin, having to deal with so much competition already to just fight to be QB2, that hardens you. That gives you a tenacity a la Tom Brady, when his days in Michigan and early with the Patriots. So I think all of these guys are developing characteristics that's going to make this a dynamite battle, not only next year, Will, but I think for years to come. Because when you think about all the great programs that have been built over the last 20, 25 years, the core pillar to everything has been competition. And you have to earn your spot really every moment, every year, every practice, every game. And you're starting to see that culture come into play with Deshaun Foster and Eric Bieniemy at the offensive helm. It's just so exciting.
Very exciting on so many different levels, man. And like you mentioned, like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, whatever the big name school is, they preach a level of, to be great here, you're going to have to compete your tail off and kind of fight your way through the cracks to get that starting spot. And that's very much what UCLA is promising these kids. Not like, hey, nothing's promised to you with the starting job. You're going to have to come here and earn it. But if you think you're that guy, we'd love to have you on campus. It's very encouraging for that to happen with UCLA. So you got that going with the quarterback battle. Carson Cox, we talked about it, coming as a tailback, 4-star running back. Shout out to his dad, too. He was watching the last show. That was very, very cool of Mr. Cox to come on through for that. We opened the episode with Cal. How about us getting Kalen Moore coming down from Cal? Another transfer coming in. We already had Oladejo. We already had Sturdivant. Kind of talk to me about these two commitments. Very different. One is a high school running back that's going to be on campus next year, whereas Moore is going to have immediate impact out there on the field for UCLA this year. I think these are two hits for UCLA when it comes to just adding to the roster and developing these pieces to be the best they could possibly be.
Oh, no question about it, Will. You nailed it. I mean, both hits, both doing different things. One offense, one defense, one this year, one next year. With Moore, I think what you get is 3 years of experience. in a very kind of similar type of structure. And I think A, you get depth, and I think B, you get tenacity, and not necessarily in that order. Moore is kind of your classic, 6'1", 195, 200, really bump and run physical cornerback. And when you look at the athleticism, Will, in the secondary with the likes of Kirkwood, with the likes of Addison, I think bringing in Moore to be more of that reinforcement of what we saw in terms of physical corner play from the likes of a Jameer Benjamin, from the likes of a KJ Wallace, coming in there and sort of complementing the athleticism, horizontally as well as vertically, I think is going to be absolutely significant. And I think it's going to be a very compelling secondary battle here, Will, as we get into the fall, because Moore is not coming in necessarily to just sort of sit on the bench, be a nickel corner, come in, be kind of a rotational piece. He's coming in to play right away and make a huge impact. And I think he's going to come with a real chip on his shoulder. And I think in any secondary, you want that combination of athleticism. You want that combination of ball skills. But then you also want those corners that are just going to get in your face, get in your grill, and make life very difficult. And I think in a Big Ten conference where UCLA is going to try and rush the quarterback, I think there's a little bit of a drop-off at the quarterback position after you see kind of Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon. And I think the key is going to be to really pressure quarterbacks, and you have even more confidence to pressure those guys when you've got kind of bump and run corners. So I think Moore is going to make an immediate impact. And then Carson Cox, I mean, my goodness, is this guy the next one, Will? All indications are that he is. He's got all the tools. We're so excited to have him. I mean, there's nothing he can't do. And, we've seen this lineage now with Deshaun. You've said it many times. I mean, you're going from Kelly to Brown to Charbonnet to TJ Harden. And here we are with Carson Cox probably being the next one. And look, if you're good enough for Deshaun Foster to sort of want you so much, you have to be significantly special. I love his size. I love his gait. I love just the multi-dimensional aspects. And I know for a fact that Deshaun Foster really looks for that one exceptional skill in a particular player. And then what is that one exceptional skill to sort of, build around? And I think with Cox, it's a vision and it's explosiveness that's absolutely elite. So couldn't be more excited there. Obviously, Keegan Jones is going to be graduating this year, hopefully after a terrific season. Cox is going to step in there right there neck and neck with TJ Harden, going for that RB1 spot, and we're thrilled to have him.
Yeah, man, you look at the size of these running backs he's getting. Cameron Jones was in this year's class. He's going to be on campus in the fall. 6'1", 215 before stepping on a college, weight room and, meal plan at the college level. That is a big guy coming to play running back there. And Carson Cox, 190 pounds if it's 6 foot as well. So these are big tailbacks. And we talked about the quarterback competition. What if Harden comes back next year? You're going to have Harden. You're going to have Cameron Jones. You're going to have Carson Cox there. And the running back position, it's one of the rare positions in college football that you can pick up easier as a true freshman and get out there and make some plays. So, I don't know. I kind of love it. And to go back to the Moore point, Kalen Moore is there. You have Davies. You got Kirkwood. You got Wallace. It's kind of one of those things where you just having a nice assembly of talent right there for you. And you can just trot out the three best players. The good thing about Moore is, yes, he's played outside, but he also does have nickel experience. So if you want to slide him in there, he can kind of come in and play. So there's just a lot of great things you can do with that. Get an assembly of talent. That's what they're doing with the quarterback position. That's what they're doing the secondary. The best players will play. It's like the Denzel Washington line he hasn't remembered the Titans. I love it, man. A lot of great stuff to look forward to for UCLA football. We are out from ESPN Radio. We got much love for you guys. 4's up for the entire weekend. We will be back next week with hopefully a much more better recruiting news coming your way here on ESPN 1090 The Mightier. We are out.